Welcome to the If I Had More Time podcast at Mariners Church. This podcast series invites you into a casual conversation with our senior pastor, Kaye Geiger, and our teaching team to hear a few helpful insights and truths they wish they had time to include in the weekend message. Be sure that you have listened to this weekend's message prior to listening to the podcast so you get the most out of our current series. We hope you enjoy it.
Thanks for joining us today for the first week of our series, Song of Solomon. I am so excited. Today we have Kaye Geiger, our senior pastor, and his wife, Kaye.
Hi.
Kaye, thanks so much for joining us.
Just here so Eric can kiss me with the kisses of his lips.
Oh, come on now. I love that. Thank you, baby. See, she's been working on that verse. I asked her to memorize
And
it.
I did.
But don't forget the caresses part.
I know. I'll work on that part next.
A little shoulder rub.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm so excited for the series. And Eric you just walked up to his office carrying these two big books, or these two big bags full of books of all that you've prepared for and reading for this series. And it's just, I can't think of something more timely for starting our young adult service too. It's perfect. We're so excited. Talk to us a little bit about why this series, why are we going through the book of Song of Solomon, and why now?
Yep. Well, I think you've heard me say before that I do want to teach our people books of the Bible. So there's 66 different books in the Bible. We're currently on a rhythm of going through 3 different books a year, which if I serve as senior pastor here 21 years, 22 years actually, we hit them all, but maybe like the very last year on a Saturday we'll go through Leviticus or something, but I'm trying to teach through books of the Bible in a systematic way. So part of Song of Solomon is just our commitment to teaching through books of the Bible. So this year we'll do Song of Solomon from the Old Testament, Colossians and James from the New Testament. So Song of Solomon's within the wisdom literature. We spent a lot of time in the Psalms during the pandemic. We haven't gone back to the wisdom literature really since that. We did Psalms and Proverbs, some of the pandemic. Want to spend some time in the wisdom literature, and the question of dating and marriage and sex is really top of mind currently in the cultural context we find ourselves. So to really be able to walk people through a book, but also answer questions that people are having as it comes to relationships and dating and intentionality, I'm excited about matching the book study with that need.
You gave some staggering statistics at the beginning of this message about the state of culture whenever it comes to love and marriage and our outlook on it. So
our culture really right now thinks marriage is obsolete, and it's that view is becoming more and more so. Yet all the things that the culture gives us to replace this obsolete, what they view as obsolete marriage, is failing us. And so it's not working. Let's look at what the ancient wisdom literature says and what God says to us.
That makes me so sad because I love being married.
Thank you, baby. Say it again.
You're welcome. I really was just telling Eric the other day, I think that our girls, I'm not saying I want our girls to get married like super young, but I mean, we did.
We got married.
Yeah,
really
we did. But I.
and look, it was
I know.
It's great.
We really grew up together, really.
No, truly we did. Yeah, but I think that they both have. I know they both really want to be married one day, and I'm like, I'm so great. That's so great. I'm so glad because I think that means that they can tell how much we like being married.
Yes,
Absolutely.
So those statistics just make me sad.
Yeah, they are sad.
Yeah.
What you didn't dig too much into this in your sermon, but what do you think is a lot of the hesitation? What do you think is a lot of the fears behind relationships and marriage?
I think some of the 3 that I quoted from, I think for sure are true. There's a lot of young adults now who grew up in broken homes and saw just really painful marriages on display. And I think some are, I don't want that, whether that was abuse or infidelity. Another is, and I hear this frequently, like the dating pool is not great. People would feel. And I went on like 4 dates, and I would never want to be married to him or her. Mm-hmm. So like, what? I don't, like, not now, not for me. And then there's the reality of, there was a time in American history where the common understanding was you dated someone, you got married, that's when you lived together, and that's when you had sex. And now sex and living together has been pulled outside of marriage. Yeah. So you have sociologists saying, for some people, there's no, like, what really is even the benefit of marriage if you can do all of the things that married people used to do without being married? So that's another reason that folks aren't getting married.
Yeah, yeah. It's so interesting because I wonder, there are things about being a Christian that are countercultural.
Yeah.
I wonder if churches, the church in history would have ever imagined a time that marriage would be countercultural, that or loving and elevating the beauty of marriage would be countercultural.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Right. Marriage is now like rebellion against the culture.
It's wild.
A God-honoring marriage is rebellion against the trend of culture. And I do want to say, I'm not at all saying that if you aren't married, and we'll hit this in coming weeks, that there's something incomplete in you. As a Christian, you are fully complete because of Christ,
That's right.
Not because you're married. And as I did say in this sermon, I hope people don't miss this part, that singleness shows the sufficiency of the gospel, that Christ is enough for you, that you don't need someone to complete you. And then marriage shows the shape of the gospel, that the union between a man and a woman reminds us of the union of Christ. By the way, I'm totally jacking Sam Alberry for that quote, that he says that singleness shows the sufficiency of the gospel and marriage shows the shape of the gospel, which is a beautiful, beautiful quote. So even Song of Solomon is for the single because really the couple doesn't get married till chapter 4, right? So there's a lot in here for those who are not yet married about what attraction should look like, what dating should look like, what pursuit should look like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Kaye, what about you? What are you hopeful for, excited for the single person? Let's go one by one. We've said this series is for every person in every stage of a relationship. What about the single person for you are you excited for?
I've probably thought most about that person as you've been preparing, because this relationship does end with them getting married. And I know that's not every single person's goal. Every single person's, their goal is not to get married. That's some of it's perfectly content where God has them, which I think is so beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Yeah. So beautiful. But for many, that is they would love to be married. So I think for the single person, I would like for them just to see the picture of what God wants a perfect love story to look like. He's given us an example, because whether they're married or not, or will be or will not, they definitely have people in their lives that are.
It's good.
And so to be a good friend, even, I think it's a helpful thing. I mean, I've even thought about our kids as teenagers, like thinking about, we don't know. We don't know what their life will look like in the next 10 years or so. But I want them to know this is God's plan. And so no matter where you land in here, you can still be a great friend to the people in your life that are also in the different stages.
It's beautiful. What about the person who's dating, or maybe they're dating newly, so they're interested in dating, would like to be dating, or they're in a relationship right now?
The first couple of weeks will be really relevant to them. I think, this one, I definitely want people to walk away saying or understanding that character matters. Hey, having the looks, the chemistry around looks and the personality, I'm vibing with somebody because she makes me laugh, he makes me laugh. That's all great. That's a gift. Enjoy that. But if it's not based on character ultimately, then you won't get to that attachment stage that we're talking about, where you're deeply grateful for who the person really is. And so you want to really, the purpose of the dating is to test that, to check that, see how he or she, when we'll talk about this more in the next 2 weeks, but how do they handle problems? Mm-hmm. Because if your relationship progresses to marriage, there's going to be problems. How do they handle a bad day? Mm-hmm. How do they handle pressure? How do they handle a fight? How do they handle when someone talks smack about them? How do they handle when they don't get the promotion? Because that's real life. And if it's only we're enjoying time when everything's rosy, you're not getting a picture of a real life. So you want to see the person's character tested under fire, who the person really is.
Yeah, I think that, I think you said it all that perfectly. Looking for people with character, that's our story. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what attracted me to you. I mean,
Thank you, baby.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
And your dashing, amazing looks.
Okay, let's touch on that.
You had marbles in your mouth as you said that.
I did not.
She wasn't sure if she could say it on air. That's before.
Hey, Erica, I was trying to tone it down. Jeez.
You don't have to.
Say.
It's Song of Songs.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
Right?
It is
We
Song
can
of
say
Songs.
whatever we want now. Can we double click into that for just a second around attraction? And you talk about the importance of physical attraction in your sermon. How important is it? What really is the role of physical attraction whenever it comes to finding a person to be with?
I think there's two errors that I'm trying to avoid when I talk about physical attraction. And I mean, you may not have even heard these two, but I've heard some on one side say physical attraction doesn't matter at all. I've heard some people say some even dishonoring things about their spouse. You know, like, I wasn't really ever attracted to him. I'm not attracted to him, or him, a guy saying about a woman. I dated other people who were way more attractive than her, but I just really liked her heart. Like, bro, don't ever say that, dude. That is really, really bad. So that's a bad extreme. And the other extreme that is bad is where the only thing that you're attracted to is the person's looks, because beauty is fleeting. I still think Kaye's stunning, but we're going to age. We're going to be married.
Oh, yeah, it's happening.
It's not, but you look amazing.
No.
But we're getting older. Like,
Exactly.
like, it's going to happen. And the foundation of our attraction can't only be physical. So I think I'm trying to avoid both extremes when I talk about physical attraction. Yes, if you're becoming one, if it moves towards marriage, you want to be attracted to your spouse. You want to think that your spouse is the most stunning person in the world.
And as a wife, I mean, I'm so thankful that you're still attracted to me and I'm still attracted to you, even more so than we were at the beginning.
That's true.
And so I would hate to be married to someone who I did not think was attracted to me. Like that would make a very hard, intimate relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you didn't have that.
And this would be, if I had more time, I might have hit this. And we talked about this off air before we got on. And you said, Kaye, that you would agree with this, and Liz as well. I mean, you're only representing two women, but two women's views. But I will, for both of you have said, and I've read this as well, that scholars point out that the woman saying in Song of Solomon, you see a sense of her insecurity. I'm dark, but I'm also beautiful. Later, she'll say, I'm just a lily in the valley. Like I'm a common flower. So she has a sense of insecurity about her appearance, and I think the reality is most people have a sense of insecurity about their appearance.
About something of their appearance at minimum.
Yes.
Yeah.
At a certain time.
Yeah.
And so you're going to see the man really affirm her appearance because, in fact, I think this is week 6 that I get to this. The man affirms her appearance more than she affirms his appearance.
Okay.
And some scholars say that women actually need to hear it more than men need to hear it.
I kind of think that makes sense.
And so you, for sure, you want a man who is blown away by your beauty.
Yeah.
And I am blown away by your beauty.
Thank you.
I mean, you're amazing. Oh, and I love that you were memorizing verse 2. Oh, that he would kiss me with the kiss of
Back to the original question, though, I think that a lot of times it's very possible that you get to know you're hanging out with someone because you have similar characteristics, similar goals, similar values,
similar friend group.
Yeah. And so as you're hanging out, you're like, oh my gosh, I think he's so cool. Or she's so cool, whatever. And then as you get to know them, you start noticing, you know what, she has such beautiful eyes, or he has such beautiful, whatever.
Yes.
So I think this happens in friendships as well.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
as you get to know someone for who they are on the inside, they become more beautiful on the outside, and vice versa. I mean, both ways happen.
Yeah.
But I think that definitely also happens in a dating relationship. So you're dating and you're learning more about each other, and then you're growing with this respect, for him.
The attraction
and
increases.
The attraction increases. I mean,
Yeah. So trying to avoid both extremes, you're not hearing me say that physical attraction happens at first sight.
Right.
But that as there's a connection and there's chemistry, and as the relationship moves to more serious, you would want there to be physical attraction as you're getting married to somebody.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Thanks for digging into that. I think it's super helpful for the dating conversation. And I'm remembering the first time I was young and I was walking with Jesus. I didn't grow up in the church, so I had a lot of older mentor figures, leaders in my church or Fellowship of Christian Athletes, like different school organizations that I kind of had to baby me at first because I didn't know anything. Mm-hmm. And I remember them explaining to me that dating isn't in the Bible anywhere. There's nowhere that explicitly talks about dating. We address the single person, we address the married person. There's stories of courtship, but we don't know how to date. And I remember being like, well, then how are we supposed to know? Totally. Because at the same time, I'm also being taught the Word of God has everything for it, So I'm really grateful for how you are shaping these messages for the people that are in that season that we don't have the perfect formula for.
Yeah, and people are right when they say the word dating's not in the Bible.
Yeah.
But the word Trinity's not in the Bible either.
Yes.
But clearly the doctrine of the Trinity is God the Father, God the Son, God the Spirit. I think the generation that said, hey, don't date, court, I think what they were trying to get to, which I think the motivation was pure, was the serial dater who would, date 15 people in a year and have multiple people he or she's dating at the same time.
Right.
Bring people on emotional roller coasters, date just for fun without any intentionality. And so whether you use the term courting or intentional dating, you definitely are going to see in Song of Solomon that there is intentionality behind this. And the man and the woman, they focus on each other as they're moving towards marriage. We'll see this in week 2 and 3. They're not dating anybody else. It's intentional, exclusive dating after the attraction, as opposed to, well, on Tuesday I'm seeing him, and then I'm writing another poem about somebody else, and I'm seeing on Wednesday. You're not seeing that in Song of Solomon.
What about for the newly married or the person who's been married for years? What does Song of Solomon have for them?
Song of Solomon, the end is for sure for them, but I would not want someone who's married to wait till the end to start listening. As a married man for 27 years now, I'm learning a lot from the first couple of chapters, reminding me of the pursuit of the man pursuing the woman, but it was really a mutual pursuit, which we'll see in week 2, and the beauty and the joy of that pursuit. And as a married man, I'm supposed to, commanded to by God, to love Kaye as Christ loves the church. So the pursuit should not end after the marriage. The pursuit should continue to happen during the marriage. And so
that's the same
seeing the passion and the attraction and the pursuit that we see, it's all pure in Song of Solomon. Seeing that in the first 3 chapters, it should inspire me to pursue Kaye with great passion and great intentionality,
I like you reading Song of Solomon.
I know, see?
It's doing great things for everybody.
Yeah. Tell me why you like it, baby.
I was going to say this pursuit thing as well. But just as you and I have been talking through some of the stuff.
Yeah. Has it made me better the last couple of weeks?
So much better.
See, come on now.
Like
Husbands, this is why you need Song of Solomon right here.
Just kidding. I think that the pursuit thing is so important as well. Like, I think that sometimes in the dating portion, it's super easy to pursue, and both ways. Like,
True.
Like you make time for the talking, though. When the kids come along and life gets busy, you're working full time. Both people are working. We've lived this life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Both of us working full time and both in school for a season.
Oh yeah, and in kid. So the intentionality part becomes really, really important. And if it's not a skill that you've kept going throughout your marriage, I think it would be a very hard one to put back into place, but not an impossible one. So meaning even just like making time to talk and have date nights and spend time together. And even in the seasons where you don't have time, and maybe even in the seasons where you don't really want to because you're just tired.
Right.
We definitely had those. And so I think the intentionality of the pursuit throughout is just leads to a really healthy marriage.
Yeah.
And it's not something that once the kids are gone, you have to learn how to do again because you've been doing it the whole time.
That's huge right there. Because we do hear of couples who, when the kids go away, they feel like they don't have anything anymore because they stopped pursuing each other. I think I learned some things just from being a pastor that I wouldn't know I kind of learn from other people. And so, gosh, Kaye and I heard that years ago from people, and we have decided that that's not going to be us. We love this kid stage. Now we have two teenagers.
I do love this stage.
But we also have started having conversations about things that we're going to do when they graduate.
Oh my gosh.
And it's going to be chapter 1 all over again, baby.
Chapter 1 all over again. High five.
Yeah. So we love it each season that we've had, but I agree with Kaye. We want to continue pursuing now. And so Song of Solomon chapter 1 through 3 for the married couple, let it reignite your passion for one another.
Yeah.
I'm remembering that verse, Eric, it's in Revelation, like, do the things you did at first.
Yeah. Remember the love that you've lost your first love. It's about the love.
It's about Jesus, but
Yeah. And so what do? You repent, you do the things you did at first.
so I think it's applicable here as well, though.
Yeah, go back to how you pursued her. Like you went after her. You got her to marry you.
Yeah.
Like
What did you do at the beginning of your relationship that caused you to fall in love?
Yeah.
Go back to the things you did at first.
do it all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And back to something that you wisely brought up earlier, Kaye, about the just pain of marriages.
Yeah.
I can't think of another more important thing that we could spend our time doing, investing in our marriages, to send a loud message to culture that healthy marriages are happening in marriages where each individual is pursuing a relationship with Jesus.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. The people that all of us have thought about as we've talked about this series too is those that experienced some pain.
Yeah.
Whenever it comes to relationships, a breakup, could be a divorce, or even loss of a spouse. There are so many ways that relationships can bring pain, even if it wasn't your own relationship to your parents or a friend. There is just because of the nature of it, how powerful and beautiful these relationships and marriages. They also have the ability to bring a lot of.
Oh gosh, so much pain.
How do we care for them in this? I mean, I see so many ways that they could find hope, but what are some things that you guys are looking forward to for them?
I'll hit each of those. So someone who's gone through a painful breakup, I would want them to, I do pray that they find Jesus as their ultimate sufficiency in the midst of the breakup. And at the same time, that Song of Solomon gives them some hope for what a relationship in the future could look like if that's what the person wants. For someone who's been hurt deeply because the other person had a lack of character, which is really sad and sometimes happens. Like you find out after the marriage or after the serious relationship that he or she's not who you thought he or she was. And that is just deeply painful.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that especially week 1 would bring that to the surface of, gosh, I was duped. I was blindsided by the fakeness of the person. I do not want that person to feel at all as if he or she did something wrong. There are people who fool us, there are, and that you have Christ who never fools you, that he's true, that he's going to walk with you and be with you. For the grieving widow or widower, I hope that they are able to look back and be really grateful for the beautiful marriage that he or she had, and realize that the marriage was mainly beautiful because it pointed to the greater marriage that we have with Christ. The reality is our earthly marriages, they're temporary, and they really point us to the everlasting marriage. There was a theologian, Jeffrey Brumley, who said, just as God created man in his image, God created marriage in the image of the everlasting marriage that we have with Christ. John Piper said one time about single people who never marry that they basically are just skipping the metaphor. They're just skipping over the picture. And
We all still have the real thing.
That's right.
They're going to the reality of the better marriage, of the glorious marriage. So someone who's grieving the loss of a spouse or grieving a breakup, you are grieving the picture. Now, the pain is still there. You're not hearing me minimize the pain. But you're grieving the picture, but the ultimate reality is still to come for you, which is the eternal, everlasting marriage that you have with Christ. And that is promised and assured for you. And so even though we're not teaching the Song of Solomon as an allegory, we kind of bashed, view 3.
Which I totally agree with, by the way. I'm very glad.
Yeah. But there is some allegorical underpinnings at the same time, a thread through it. You get to a verse in Song of Solomon of I am my beloved and he is mine, which is a verse that does give us the picture that we ultimately belong to Christ and he is ours. And you have the greatest everlasting marriage, eternal marriage with Christ in front of you. And that is where you can ultimately rest.
Sandy?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think I'm thinking I'm going to cry. I mean, I think it's like a lot of other topics that are hard, that we all have topics that the Bible addresses that are hard for us. And this will be challenging for some people, but I do, because it's the Word of God and it's all true and it's all for you and for now, there will be something beautiful in it for you. So if you're hurting, I really do believe that. I believe this series has something really beautiful for you.
I am so excited and really grateful, Kaye, that you came in to be a part. You guys are going to be hearing a lot from Kaye throughout this series.
Hey, tell us as we wrap up. I shared my, we put those pictures of that mission trip.
About you stalking me?
I was not stalking you, Big. I was. This was, this was when you had to stalk in person. There was no.
That's true.
There's no social media back in the day. But what in your mind, what happened on that mission trip?
Okay.
From that day.
So just from the mission trip. So we were friends leading up to it.
Whatever you want, mate. Tell
But
everybody
I remember
how.
meeting you at the beginning of of when I first came to college. You, of course, were already there. And I remember watching you speak at a youth event that we were both serving at. You were extremely passionate, little bit of a screamer.
Oh yeah, back in the day I was.
Yeah.
When you would preach?
Yeah, yeah. I was.
She's real passionate.
So I'm more grace now. Back then I was straight truth. He
was newly saved, but it was
not only straight truth, but I will scream it at you.
Yeah.
It wasn't a sermon unless you screamed. But it was just like, I'm so new and I'm so passionate. Just like,
I really was attracted
pleased with that. That's beautiful.
I really was like, I want to be around him, even from the very beginning, because I wanted to be around people who were in love with Jesus.
Yeah.
And I was.
And so I saw that in you immediately, for sure.
Yeah.
And you're so, oh my gosh, so cute. So cute, that little blue hat. Anyway.
Blue baseball hat.
Yeah, I remember. But on the mission trip, yes, we had a lot of time together. I think we were gone for a long time. I don't think we didn't have any showers, any toilets, if I remember correctly.
No, it was pretty
rough. I remember going home and my mom picking me up and saying, Eric might remember this, and her saying, within 24 hours of being home, of me telling her, and we hadn't even had a conversation about, we'd had lots of conversations, but not about dating or anything like that.
I have not asked her out yet. I'll share that in week 2.
Okay, so I won't get ahead of you, but I said to my mom within 24 hours, I said, I think I know who I'm going to marry. And she said, did you look like this the whole time? And I said, yes. And she said, you do not know who you're going to marry. And I was like, okay then.
We were just talking, before we got rolling, we were talking about how Kaye's family growing up was very honest with one another.
It's hilarious.
That caught me off guard. Wow.
So she was like, if you look like this the whole time, I'm pretty sure you do not know. But I did.
And I thought she was stunning.
See? Yeah, something.
There's, that's what I remember. But then I think the best part comes after that, really.
Yeah, next week I'll tell about, I called Kaye and.
It's a funny story. Don't give it away.
Okay, next week I'll tell how I asked Kaye on a date.
or didn't ask her.
Never did. And then had to call back.
None of us were really sure, actually.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's going to be a great series. I'm really thankful. Kaye's going to be on here quite a bit because we can't do Song of Solomon without her.
So excited.
Thanks so much for being here. And thank you guys for listening to the If I Had More Time podcast.
Thanks for joining us today on the If I Had More Time podcast hosted by Mariners Church. We hope to see you next weekend at any of our congregations across Southern California or online. To view our service times at each congregation, be sure to check out our website at marinerschurch.org.